should have also announced earlier, on the ends of the, what do they call these things here? At the end of the room, I'm not sure what they call them. There are some papers, blue paper over there, and I think some white slips of paper over here. If you do have questions and want to have those asked, please feel free to get one of those pieces of paper, bring it down to Debbie. Make sure it is a question that is applicable to all of the candidates. We won't be asking individual questions to individual candidates. But feel free, if you have a question that you would like to ask to all of the candidates, to submit that to Debbie or Nancy. We will start at the end of this row. So Mr. Young, Eric, if you'll hand it down to Mr. Young, we'll start with Mr. Young. Mr. Young, what will be the two most important agenda items for you in the upcoming 2015 session of the Indiana Legislature as it relates to this district?
Well, the first thing I'll do is continue the work that I did last session, working to support our veterans. We have far too many of our veterans coming back from overseas and who have fought in our wars who are unemployed. And I serve on the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, and we try to encourage businesses to hire veterans. But I was surprised last year to find out that the state of Indiana does not give a preference to hiring veterans. I proposed legislation last year to do that, along with legislation to set up a special commission to handle women veterans. So this year, that will be my first piece of legislation to get passed.
Right on down. Yes.
All right. Two most important issues I think we need to focus on is job creation for this district and improving education. We need the politics out of education. I have 3 kids that go to public school here. I'm a product of public school. My husband's a product of public school. Our kids actually just go straight down the road here at Salem Community Schools. So we definitely need to get politics out of education and restore some common sense into the discussion. So I support public schools and have been meeting with teachers, and there's a lot of things I think we can improve on by having a dialogue there and opening up that conversation on how we can make things better for students and our teachers. Creating jobs. I'm endorsed by 2 organizations whose chief objective is to create jobs, the Indiana Manufacturers Association and the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. And so we need to support our small businesses, eliminate burdensome regulations, and keep taxes low to support and spur job creation for our district.
Thank you. I'll agree with Aaron on the 2 topics that we're talking about. One of my areas that I'm really working hard on is I'm working with our fiscal team to try to work on fixing the school funding formula. We know that our rural schools have been kind of squeezed tight, and one of the things that we do know about our rural schools is that they are, in many communities, they're the largest economic engine in the community. They're creating jobs for people. They put money in the communities. They create a good, educated and workforce for our folks out there to help with jobs, and that's important. So we're going to work to try to get a better funding situation for our rural schools. The second area that I'm really working hard on this year, as I've worked on in the past, is rural economic development. I think we need to make sure that the smaller rural areas are getting some of the jobs that are coming into the state. So we're going to try to focus on ways that we can direct some of those jobs into our rural communities. So those are my 2 big areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, there are 2 specific issues that I will be working very hard on. Been very concerned about them for several years now. And of course, number 1 is education. Education is a fundamental pillar for our economy, our state, and our security and our freedom. Our founding fathers recognized that in 1816 when they put in our Constitution that we would have free public education for all Hoosiers from age 7 through college. The next other issue is real estate taxes. And of course it goes to all issues of the high taxes that we're under right now on all areas. We need a fairer tax, and real estate estate taxes have ballooned during the last 2 years, put all of Hoosiers under great jeopardy. And it's anticipated that the real estate taxes will increase by 50% during the next 2 years. This is simply not sustainable. We must do different from that. We have to work on those. And those issues are related to all the other.
Stop you right
Sorry,
there.
thank you, Miller.
That's all right.
Any rebuttal coming down from anyone? Hearing none, that's probably not a question so much. So Doug, we'll start with you.
Very well.
And this next question. Speaking of taxes, since you had that question, what do you see as the pros and cons of assessing a sales tax on personal services? Now, that's been discussed for the last term particularly, and I think probably the one before that. So what would be your response to either supporting or not supporting a sales tax on personal services?
Well, that's interesting because the first thing that any government legislator or bureaucrat says, well, let's see if we can find another tax. No, I'm not for sales tax on anything else. I'm for reducing taxes. We have enough revenue. We're just spending it wrongly. We must reduce taxes. Remember, taxes depress our economy. They keep all of us from investing in our homes, investing in our farms, investing in our businesses. It depresses our economy. We must take that tax back, put it in our citizens' pockets so they can get the economy rolling again by investing in their own personal home, business, and farm.
Thank you.
Well, there's been talk about a sales tax on action on services, and I think it was actually probably worked on a few years ago. They brought it forward, and they actually talked about it this year in a tax conference because they thought there was ways that they could bring maybe shift some of the money to other areas that could be used to help with tax rates for real estate, for especially agricultural land tax and business land tax and things like that. But I know from what I understood, because I've talked to some folks about this in the past, the history of this, is that there was a group of folks that was against it, and it was the lawyers that were against it, the lawyer groups that were against it, because they didn't want to be included in the sales tax for services. So I don't know that it's going to be something that's going to actually be able to be done anyway, whether anybody wants to do it or not. But it was introduced this year and talked about in a conference, so I don't think anything's probably going to materialize out of it, though. Thank you.
I don't support assessing new taxes on personal services. Low tax, keep taxes low, and as Doug said, the government has money, we just got to spend it wisely, and so, yeah, I don't support assessing new taxes on personal services.
Well, I have to agree with Doug. I think he gave an excellent answer, and I agree. I certainly don't support increasing the taxes on services. As Steve said, this is an idea that comes up every now and then, but you know, it's not only lawyers. It's automobile repair people. It's beauticians. It's doctors, dentists. You go on down through the line that would have to put a tax on it. It really would tremendously impact the economic development of our state. And so I think, I don't believe there's any real support in the General Assembly for it, and I certainly am not in support of that.
I'm glad you took the pressure off of lawyers. Any rebuttal? Mr. Mayberry has
I would like to add in relation to tax, I think we do need to restructure our tax system in Indiana, and I want to look at that. And just in looking at it from an objective point of view, it seems that if we can get away from these taxes on property and get taxes back on where it should be, I believe, on income, our sales taxes in general, it would be fairer for everyone. So that's what I will look at eventually and consult with experts in the field and try to come up with a fair tax that will fund the fundamental parts of our
I need you to stop there, Mr. Mayberry. Thank you. Thank you. Keep your eyes on Ms. Brookmeyer right there.
audience, and one question follows up on what I think most of you said, or all of you said about education. What is your position on the school voucher program as that program currently exists? Do you support it? Are you against it? Should it be reformed? Aaron, you have a microphone. We'll go ahead and start with the board down and come back.
I support public schools. My kids go to public school here at Brady Schrum, and I've got a 5th grader, 3rd grader, and a kindergartner. If I get elected, I'll be the only mother with kids in school, in public school, in the Senate, Republican or Democrat on either side of the aisle. So certainly I think it's important for the General Assembly and the Senate to have someone in the room who has that firsthand experience, who sees her children's teachers on a regular basis and talks to them. I've been traveling around the district, meeting with teachers, and hearing from them on improvements that they think need to be made. The voucher program exists, it's here, and in our district, we don't have, in Washington County schools, we don't have anyone on vouchers. So certainly I'm a supporter of public schools, and happy to have my kids here in Salem Community Schools. It's a great school system. We have great schools in District 47. Should be very proud of that.
Thank you. We do have great schools here in our Washington County, and across many of the rural districts, we have great schools that we have. I think there are some areas, though, where there are schools that have problems. Some of the inner city schools, as we've seen, have problems. They have some schools that are dangerous. You know, I wouldn't want some of my kids to go to some of the public schools. And my kids went to public school here in Salem. Very happy. I'm a product of public schools myself. I want to see our public schools succeed. But sometimes there are children that have issues that need to maybe have a different kind of education. I don't think we're in a society where one size fits all. So I think that parents should have the choice of where their children go to school instead of the government making that decision for them. And if there's a reason that they feel like that they need to go to a different school, or if they have bullying or different things that happen, there are reasons that they may want to take their child to a different school. So I have supported that program in the past, but I want to make sure that it also is successful in the future for our public schools. Thanks.
I am for keeping the public schools public and the private schools private, and I don't want to mix those two. I do not want public money, our tax money, going to corporate schools that are set up. We know that the Daniels and Pence administrations have declared war on our public schools and all other areas of government. They want to corporatize all areas of government, not just schools, but this is a big one right now that they're really focused on. And I'm going to oppose that absolutely. Just in the last days of the 2013 legislation, they took $91 million from our public funds and just gave it to charter schools. Gave it to these company owners. China loves to invest in these charter schools. It's a big moneymaker for them. And I'm going to oppose that absolutely, that idea. Thank you.
Has it been?
Well, I'd like to rebut.
Well, let Mr. Young answer, and then we'll go back to your rebuttals. That's fine.
My wife and I have raised 7 children. They're all products of the public school system. They've all gone on to Indiana universities and have college degrees. 2 of them have master's degrees. 2 of them have doctorate degrees. I firmly am opposed to vouchers. I believe that our responsibility is to the Constitution of the state of Indiana, which says we are to provide a free, quality education equal for all of our citizens, and that is our responsibility. As Doug said, you know, in 2010, Governor Daniels took $350 million out of public schools to use for other state funding. We have never put that back in, and our schools have been struggling ever since. So we need to give the financial support to our public schools.
You got a rebuttal?
I would like to say that 70% of the students that do attend those schools are minority students, low-income minority students. So that we're giving them an opportunity to get out of some of these poor school, inner city schools, to get a chance to break the cycle of that they've been in and of poverty, and be able to actually get out and maybe be more successful and reach some of their educational goals. So I think that's a good thing. We're giving them some of the same choices that some of the more affluent people have, and I think that's helpful. So thank you.
Any other rebuttal?
Yes, thank you. When Daniels come up with the idea that students could move from one school to the other and take their tax money with them to pay that tuition in another public school, I thought, boy, that's a wonderful idea. I'm sure glad he did that. And then I found out later why he did it. It was just so they could fund charter schools better. That was the real purpose. But yes, I think that a student should have the absolute right to move from one public school to another. If they want to get out of a school where they've got a bad situation, a bad relationship possibly with other students and want to move, let them do that. But go to another public school, not to a private corporation. Thank you.
All right. Steve, I'm going to let you answer this question because of time. I have 3 other questions from the audience, but because of time, we really can only ask one. And this is the one I've picked. The question is, how do you plan to curb the increasing spending we're seeing on our prison system within Indiana, and what steps do you think need to be taken to reduce recidivism amongst those individuals who are within our criminal justice system?
That's a good question, and I'll tell you, one of the things I think that we've done with 1006 is we tried to change the system so that we put fewer people into the DOC, the Department of Corrections. And, you know, I've been talking and listening to some committee meetings that we've had in Indianapolis with some testimony, and 80% of the people that are in DOC right now have something related to drug-related charges against them, either the crimes they've committed while they've been on drugs or involved with drugs and things like that. So we've been working on some legislation that we feel like will maybe help reduce the drug addiction, substance abuse problem in our state. We have a very big problem with that. If we can reduce that and put some of those dollars that we're putting into our prisons into those kind of programs, I think we can actually have a better, reduce the cost for the DOC and have more productive citizens in the state and reduce crime. I think that's one of the steps that we're going to work on in the future, so I think that'll be helpful.
Why don't you pass it over to Mr. Leatherberry, we'll go from that end to them.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, that's a subject that needs a lot of study and a lot of work. As you know, the privatization of state government included the privatization of prisons. And of course, the corporate owners of these prisons, they want bodies in there. And they're doing everything they can to get as many people in those prisons as possible at state expense. That's not good for the public. It's not good for the prisoner. So I want to get this prison